Hello, BookTube. I think summer has finally arrived in my part of the world. You can see just how sunny it is if you look in the window behind me, but also the temperature has been steadily climbing. So, however, has the humidity. I have been reliably informed by the person who watches our television that there is a 50 to 75% chance of thunderstorms in the next couple of hours. Now, that is going to make filming interesting. Yeah, we shall see. Anyway, the book we are going to look at today is a work of nonfiction. It became a New York Times bestseller when it was released in 2006, and I think it's very relevant to everyone who likes BookTube because it is all about the art of reading. Okay, so we are looking at Reading Like a Writer by Francine Prose, which is an appropriate surname, I thought. As I said, the book came out in 2006. I am reviewing the Kindle edition, which came out in 2012. And that is 192 pages long, but the actual text is 169 pages. Right, first question. Could I summarize this book? Well, Francine Prose is a very well-known author and teacher of creative writing. So she is simply bringing in this book a way that the public can gain from all her experience teaching and learn how, as readers, they can better appreciate the books that they read. If you already know how to close read a text, then yes, much of what she says will be familiar. And yet, with the amount of material that she presents, and in particular the amount of quotations which she brings forward as examples of the techniques of the great writers, I think anybody who reads this will come away with some new and useful perspectives. Next question. What is known about the author? Francine Prose was born in 1947 in Brooklyn, and her career has been so productive that really, for the sake of keeping it brief, keeping this video a reasonable length of time, we're just going to hit a few high spots. She did graduate work at Harvard, and it was at Harvard that she also taught creative writing and literature studies, but that's just one university. She's taught at many others. She has written several novels, as well as a number of nonfiction books and children's books. I can see online that she's written at least 3 television screenplays, and she's edited or contributed to a number of literary anthologies. She has been a National Book Award finalist. She's won the Guggenheim Fellowship, the Rome Prize Fellowship, the Washington International Humanities Medal. That's just scratching the surface. We haven't even mentioned her essays or her journalism or her translating work. That's how productive a writer we're talking about. If you want to know the full story, I will leave a link in the description box to, it's called the Library Thing website, and that's got a comprehensive list of all her books. And of course, now that I know personally, my Amazon wish list is going to get longer. No questions asked. Question 3. How is this book structured? Francine Prose breaks up this book into 11 essays, and she starts with the first one, which is a celebration of close reading and almost an evangelical call for all readers to learn how to do it and to do more of it. And after that, she uses the next chapters to zero in on aspects of our books that we really should notice in more detail. For example, the choice of words, the structure of author sentences, the way they do their paragraphing, how they do their narration and characterization and dialogue. And then at the back of the book, when she's finished all that instruction about what to notice for close reading, at the back she's got this 10-page list which she titles Books to Read Immediately, which I don't think she means literally. But right there you can see just how much enthusiasm she's bringing to this project. Now, I wouldn't say that there's a shortage of reading lists on BookTube right now. I mean, if anything, it's getting difficult to know which of all the lists of books you must read you're supposed to choose from. But given all the qualifications that I just listed in my little potted biography of Francine Prose, I mean, if she's not qualified to make a good reading list, then who is? Question 4. Why did I choose to read this book? Well, I chose it 100% from its title because I'm ashamed to say that back in 2014, when I bought it, I didn't know who Francine Prose was. But I did belong to a book group at the time, and I wasn't enjoying the meetings very much. Even though we all would come to a very democratic agreement about what titles we were going to read month on month, what I found was that almost nobody read the assigned book when it came time to meet and talk about it. And they didn't really want to talk about it very much. In fact, I would say that there was more excitement when the conversation switched over to what everybody had watched on television or what films they'd gone to see. And I remember thinking at one point, well, I didn't join a film and television club, right? I joined a book group. And so I think when I saw this title on Amazon, I just thought, oh yeah, reading like a writer, I need to connect with somebody who honestly, truly does like books. So of course, there you go. That now you know how I got the book, right? I was trawling Amazon. I do this all the time. I look and see if I can spot a title that looks like it's slightly better quality, that is going for a really, really good price. And as it happens, in 2014, when I was browsing on Amazon, this book was being offered for 99 pence, which is just over $1 US, right? I mean, you can't resist it. And more so me, right? Because you've seen my bookcases, haven't you? They're a mess. They're coming out at the seams. They're overstuffed. And so my virtual library just becomes more and more important every day. Question 6. Have I encountered anything unexpected or interesting in this book? Well, it is risky for me to do this because I am going to disagree with a very established author. But Francine Prose made a statement in the first chapter of her book. She said, quote, "We all begin as close readers." And I was not convinced by her argument for that statement. Prose felt that young children, because they hear stories before they can read themselves, that they are naturally taking in one word at a time and actively making sense of those words as they come to them. Now, I agree, yes, children probably do listen that way, but I wouldn't qualify that as close reading. Not the same thing. Personally, I felt that Prose was positing that childhood was somehow this state of perfect, just underdeveloped literary consciousness, and it somehow gets lost by the act of reading more. Now, that just didn't make any sense. She seemed to be saying that this lost consciousness needed to be regained somehow, and to me, that was just a new idea hanging from an old utopian mythic framework, right? Just another reworking of the expulsion from paradise, except this time the sin wasn't eating an apple, but learning how to read. Just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Personally, and if I can digress for a moment, I don't think close reading is a given, not a natural inclination that we lose sight of. I think reading is a skill that, just going from my own schooling, I don't think we learned how to do well enough. And I understand now close reading is being taught in schools, and that's fantastic, because I just think we get less from books if we sit back passively and we wait to see what they will do for us. If you understand how to close read, then you have the analytical tools to actively meet the text and take something from it. Question 7. Is there anything readers should be prepared for if they decide to read this book? Well, this book is written with the assumption that you are the kind of reader who also wants to write your own fiction. But I don't think that non-writers are at any disadvantage because Francine Prose, she packs this book with so many examples of other authors' work. There's probably as much quoted text in some of the chapters as there is original text, if you follow me. If you do like creative writing, then Francine's very encouraging, especially in the later chapters. But if you just like reading what other people write, then this book feels like a guided tour to some of the greatest writing minds that we've ever known. And Francine, she picks the right passages from Samuel Beckett, Isaac Babel, Franz Kafka. I'm just naming 3 of many. It will feel as though you have spent time inside the minds of some of these great writers. Question 8. Anything else interesting to know about this book? Well, all the chapters are interesting, but if I could single out one for special mention, it would be chapter 10, titled Learning from Chekhov. Francine Prose describes how she was teaching this particular creative writing class in the 1980s, and it involved traveling by bus. And each journey, one way, was, I think, about 4 hours, something awful. And so, to help her pass the time, she brought with her a volume of all the collected short stories and essays of Anton Chekhov. and she just read them. But what she found was that they provided more than just relief from boredom. She found that after teaching her class, some important principle, if you've been to creative writing courses, you'll probably recognize some of these. So principles like, don't have too many different points of view in your story, or be sure to establish your main character's motivation. And then she would travel home on the bus, read Chekhov, and find that she read a story where he completely ignored or he broke the principles, and yet the story worked. So, in the end, Francine Prose told her class that maybe they were better off not listening to her at all and just reading Chekhov. But I do want to just single out one Chekhov quotation. This really caught me because he's giving his views in an essay about the problematic issue of creating characters with flaws, or writing stories that deal with problematic subjects. I felt he made a good point, and I felt he made it really well. So this is from page 243. That the world swarms with male and female scum is perfectly true. Human nature is imperfect. But to think that the task of literature is to gather the pure grain from the muck heap is to reject literature itself. Artistic literature is called so because it depicts life as it really is. Its aim is truth, unconditional and honest. A writer is not a confectioner, not a dealer in cosmetics, not an entertainer. Significant. Sorry, I'm interrupting the quote there, but I thought that was brilliant. He goes on to say, he, the writer, is a man bound under compulsion by the realization of his duty and by his conscience. To a chemist, nothing on earth is unclean. A writer must be as objective as a chemist. It seems to me that the writer should not try to solve such questions as those of the existence of God, pessimism, etc. His business is but to describe those who have been speaking or thinking about God and pessimism, how and under what circumstances. The artist should be not the judge of his characters and their conversations, but only an unbiased observer. You are right in demanding that an artist should take an intelligent attitude to his work, but you confuse two things: solving a problem and stating a problem correctly. It is only the second that is obligatory for an artist. You abuse me for objectivity, calling it indifference to good and evil, lack of ideas and ideals, and so on. You would have me, when I describe horse thieves, say stealing horses is evil, but that has been known for ages, without my saying so. Let the jury judge them. It is my job simply to show what sort of people they are. Just thought it was really well put. I saved this photo until last because I like it the best. This is the Shakespeare Room in the Birmingham Library, not Birmingham, Alabama, everyone who's watching from the United States, Birmingham, West Midlands, England. At the top of their library, I can't remember if it's on the roof. There's a little cupola that you get to walk inside, and it's full of all this warm wood from floor to ceiling. And you can see there's artwork relating to the plays, caricatures from the 18th century of actors playing Shakespearean roles, but also you can see books, and those are very old, very valuable editions of his plays. So it's a beautiful little place to visit, and it's perfect backdrop to our last question, which is any ideas for related or follow-up reading. Well, since I finished reading myself, I've heard a lot of good things about What to Read and Why, which is another volume by Francine Prose. But to be honest, if you've bought her book, then I would say go to the back to that 10-page list of books you're supposed to read immediately and pick them, because she's chosen some fantastic titles. To sum up, I should actually say something, because I read that really heavy quote by Chekhov and I did a lot of moaning about close reading and so on. I should say that it's not necessary to close read to enjoy books. You can have a perfectly happy reading life, just letting books entertain you. In spite Chekhov saying, writers are not entertainers, well, they are. Some of them are to more or less degree, and it's fine to enjoy them purely as that. But since we just finished, using one metaphor a little earlier in this review, can you indulge me? Can I just talk about another one? When I learned to close read, it felt as though reading books had gone from something that happened like within a single story building. I felt like I'd been shown where the staircases were. So suddenly I was able to go up to other floors, or no, even better, I was able to go down under the buildings where I found all these connecting tunnels that linked me with other books that I was reading or other books that I knew were well known. That's the best way I can describe it. It just added dimensions to my reading, and that's why I guess I harp on about it as much as I do, everybody. So apologies for that. Okay, what am I doing next? Well, there's another Middlemarch Meditations coming out. In fact, this is all going to happen in the wrong order because this video is going to appear before the meditations, even though I recorded the meditations before I recorded this one, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah. Also, I'm reading a fantastic piece of fiction right now. Accidentally discovered at my library, just wandering, looking at shelves, and it had such an incredible cover graphic that I just pulled it out to see what on earth is this. And it's fantastic because this is a book written by an author when she was only 13. A story casually put on the internet just so that she could use the computer and use the internet, right? But it became a cultural phenomenon. So look forward to that. That's coming up soon. Okay, everybody, thanks very much for checking in. Enjoy your day if it's summery as well, and look forward to speaking with you again soon. Bye-bye.